a fact is not data, it may not be representative. So you might think from my first comment, well, all we need to do is a more thorough fact check the context, check there was evidence behind it. But that's not enough, because even if something is 100% accurate, it might be the exception that does not prove the rule. For example, Simon Sinek says, starting with why is the secret to success. Here's some companies that started with why and they were successful. Let's say Apple and Wikipedia. But those are cherry-picked. There could be hundreds of other companies that started with why and failed. And so that's why I say a fact is not data. It may not be representative. A couple of anecdotes doesn't tell you about anything in general. So you might think, well, the solution is to look at hundreds of companies to get the full picture, to get all of the data, and look in general, when I look at all of these hundreds of companies, are companies that have a purpose more successful? Well, the answer is again no, because of the third misstep up the ladder, which is data is not evidence, it may not be conclusive. Even if you have a strong correlation in large-scale data, there could be multiple different interpretations. I talked about this earlier in terms of diversity and performance, but in terms of starting with why in success, is it starting with why leads to success? Or once you're already successful, we can spend time crafting a purpose statement because we're not firefighting. And finally, even if I was to nail causality within the set of companies that I study, I have found, and it's definitive truth, that starting with why leads to success in the set of companies that I'm studying, which is large US public companies. There was the final misstep up the ladder, which is evidence is not proof, it may not be universal. So a proof is universal. When Archimedes proved the area of a circle, that is true for all circles all around the world, and it's as true today as it was in the 3rd century BC. But evidence is often context-specific. Even if I showed that starting with why leads to success in US large publicly traded companies, maybe it doesn't matter for a small startup. Maybe you just want to execute correctly rather than thinking about a why. Maybe this is not true in other countries around the world. Maybe we don't care so much about a purpose and a mission, we just want to get things done efficiently and effectively. But often these authors, they want to proclaim one universal truth which applies in every single context because they want as many people to buy their book as possible, when actually it may only be true in a small, limited setting.